Hey, friends! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. Come join me, your host, Nicole, for some hope-filled conversations about heartfelt entertainment that makes your heart swing. Hey, Hallmarkies! Welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, joined today by my friend Betsy to talk about A Merry Scottish Christmas, starring Scott Wolf and Lacey Chabert. It was written by Andrea Canning and directed by Justin Reichert. When estranged siblings Lindsay and Brad travel to Scotland at Christmas to reunite with their mother, Jo, a big family secret is revealed. Welcome back to the podcast, Betsy. I'm excited to chat about this movie with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited as well.
Of course. Do we want to start with our merry musings, which are our overall thoughts about the movie? Would you like to start us off?
Oh, sure. Let's see. I liked it, of course. Scotland is
Yeah,
beautiful and it's always fun to travel outside of,
yeah,
North America for these movies. I
yeah,
love the storyline. Lacey's
mm-hmm,
always fun to watch. I thought the
yeah,
relationship between a brother and a sister was a nice
mm-hmm,
change, although we did have some romance in there, but
yes,
I like changing it up from your basic, Hallmark movie formula.
yeah.
And yeah, I really liked it. I would watch it again.
Yeah, I thought it was a fairly well-written script with some comedy and depth thrown in there with the infertility storyline with Brad and Sarah, which I thought was great. And it had a great ensemble cast, and I thought the chemistry between everyone was fantastic. And I loved the A story with the brother sister relationship of Brad and Lindsay, which you just mentioned. And then I thought it had some Christmas feels as well.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize it. Almost you forget it was a Christmas movie because the storyline there was so much going on.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't as much Christmas as I had hoped, but I still enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, when you get 40
Yeah.
movies, and
Yes.
there's definitely other movies that give
Yeah.
you everything Christmas. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, it was definitely almost more of a drama than like
Yeah.
a rom-com or something, which
Yeah.
was interesting.
Yes. And I loved the little mystery element we got towards the beginning of the movie. Of course, you know that from watching the movie, it was solved pretty quickly. Like we found out why they were there. And the, of course, filming on location, I thought was beautiful as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Gosh, yeah, I just like the mystery storyline of it
Yes.
all.
Yeah. It was great. And of course, we got a little royal storyline in there as well.
Yeah, no, it was almost, I guess, like dukes and duchesses
Yeah,
are considered nobility, I think,
I think
technically.
so. Yeah.
But it's kind of, I liked that it wasn't prince, princess, queen, and king, because
Yeah.
that's what we always get.
Yeah.
And so you have like the landowners of the Scottish area that were,
Yes. Yeah.
knighted or crowned that position. So it was
Yes.
kind of cool just
Yeah.
to have a different kind of take on the royal movie.
Yeah. I agree. For our holiday highlights, which are the best or key moments, that first car ride with Lindsay, Brad, and Sarah after landing, there were some comical moments in here in this scene. And the first one that kind of made me laugh was when they were talking about the family vacation that Lindsay and Brad's mom took them on when they were teenagers to a Christmas folk festival in the desert, and they stayed in a teepee. But according to Brad, it was a yurt.
Yeah, just always trying to correct the other person. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're wrong, but I'm right. Very, very
Yes.
sibling.
Yes. Have you ever stayed in a yurt before on a trip?
Oh no, like I'm not an outdoorsy person. I don't
I
camp. I
haven't
don't want
either.
to do that. And that's like I just want a hotel. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
glad people want to do that.
Yeah.
Good for them for going on an adventure.
Hmm.
That's just not me.
Yeah, I've never stayed in a yurt either. If I were to go on a camping type of trip, I'd probably want to stay in an actual cabin with plumbing and a kitchen and all of that.
No question. I agree.
Yeah. This moment also kind of made me laugh when they get to the castle and they're commenting on the bagpipe playing, and Brad is like, that's one way to slay a Christmas song.
Yeah, super Scottish. That
Yes,
bagpipe. It looks like
yes,
a difficult instrument to
yeah,
play.
yes. Although the bagpipes are beautiful instruments. I love the sound of them.
It definitely transported you to Scotland.
Yes, I totally agree. What did you think about Lindsay's first meeting with Mac? I thought that was a great moment. She had walked outside to finish her conversation on the phone, I think with someone that she worked with. And then Mac walks up and they start talking about Christmas lights and the bonfire to celebrate the Christmas solstice.
Ah, yes, yes. Okay, I recall the
Yes.
interaction.
Yeah,
I will say one thing. I think his name is James Robinson, I believe is the
I
actor's name who
think
played
so.
Mac. I was so glad that Hallmark picked an actual like Scottish actor for
Yeah.
this. One thing that bugs me, and it's just because I watch a lot of royal dramas filmed,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
UK, and it's truly, British actors and whatnot. If
Yeah.
there's an American or Canadian actor doing like an accent that's like general European or
Yeah.
English or something, I can't watch it because it's just not, natural and authentic to them. So
Yeah.
the fact that they picked James Robinson, who is a Scottish actor, I was so glad because his accent's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't know, and I still don't know a lot about him, but he was great. He was fantastic in this movie, and I'm glad that they picked him for this role.
Definitely, he was great.
Yes. This was one of my favorite brother sister moments, and it was Lindsay and Brad talking about their mom and sneaking up to the fourth floor. And of course, Lindsay is so curious to know what's going on with her mom, and she is literally walking down the hall, I believe, to where she saw her mom, go in one of the rooms. And Brad's like, hey, let's go, Nancy Drew. And I loved that reference because Scott Wolf played Nancy Drew's dad on the series on CW.
Oh, yeah, you had mentioned that. So, okay, there was a connection there, a callback
Yeah,
for fans of that. That's funny you caught that.
yes, yes. And I've always been a fan of Nancy Drew as well. So I thought that was a nice little addition to the movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Only certain
Yeah,
fans will get like the joke and the connection, so it's
yes,
fun.
yes. They also go in their mom's room after they pretend they're lost, and they find an article dated May 29th, 1963. And the headline is 12th Duke and Duchess of Glencrave welcome heiress on May 27th, which is their mom's birthday. So that means that their mom is the current Duchess.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, isn't it? That it felt
Yes.
plausible. Like some of these royal
Yeah.
movies, because this is more nobility than kind of
Yeah.
royal, it made it like way more believable because like the prince falling in love with the commoner, like
Yeah.
that, it's like
Yeah.
that's not super likely, but this felt, real. Like I
Yeah.
totally bought the storyline.
I agree. And what did you think about the conflict with this whole storyline and Josephine keeping it secret from her children?
Yeah, she did what she thought was best. I wonder if she ever thought it would come out. Well, she probably thought maybe her brother would have heirs and it would pass on that
hmm
way and that
Yeah.
she would never be a factor, but
hmm
now she is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like I don't know how familiar you are with like Queen Elizabeth and her father and her
A little
uncle and
bit.
all that, how that
Yeah.
went down. It's just funny how all of a sudden it just goes to a family line maybe that you wouldn't quite expect, like the siblings.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And of course you had like the relationship of the mom, Josephine, and her brother kind
Yes.
of was parallel to that of Lacey and Scott's characters.
hmm Yes. And I will say I wasn't a huge fan of her waiting so long to tell them, but I can understand that she was just doing it to, I guess, protect them. I think is what she said. she didn't want them to feel like they weren't normal, I think is the word she used. So that's totally okay.
It's one of those things like if you did have them grow up in that, oh, we don't want to be a part of this
Yeah.
life. Why won't you let us do something else? Well,
Yeah.
I didn't let you be part of that. Why didn't you let us be a part of it? It's like, oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
just no matter what you do, someone's gonna be
Yes.
like, wait, they want the opposite.
Yes. That's very true. And I did enjoy, even though it was a little sad at the end, the flashback of Josephine and Danny.
Yeah, that was interesting. You don't see a lot of flashbacks like that
No,
in
you don't.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it. I always like it when they do that. It just kind of gives you some perspective. And,
Yeah.
she was a free spirit. Even the shirt she
Yeah.
wore was a little edgy. She just wanted to do her own thing. And she
Hmm.
ran away to an American, and the rest is history. Was it he was
Yes.
American, right? Or did she meet him over there and they went over to
I don't
America?
think
Something like that.
I don't think they ever really said, which I was curious about. But I know that she did mention how she was going to America to pursue music because she liked to sing. And then, we get later on in the movie the reference of folk music. So maybe her and the guy that she fell in love with, I think they started a band, is what was said sometime in the movie.
Gotcha.
Another question, what did you think about the whole conflict with Brad and Lindsay and why they were drifting apart? We hear in that conversation outside the castle that she left before the first toast at their wedding, his and Sarah's wedding, that is. And that was because it was the weekend before her medical school entrance exams. And he didn't show up to her graduation because it was the day before tax day. And their biggest client was going through an audit.
Well, I think, I mean, it wasn't like they were being selfish. I mean, they had very
No,
valid
no.
reasons to do what they did, but I think
Yeah,
they both were like, well, I wish you had, sacrificed in that way.
yeah,
It's tough. I mean, they
yeah, it
both
is
had
tough.
their
Yeah.
careers are high-end careers,
Hmm.
doctor and
Yeah,
uh what is it, CPA. So understand, or is he a tax
yeah.
attorney? He's a tax attorney, isn't
Tax
he?
attorney. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So high profile jobs. I mean, they had a lot of pressure. I
Hmm.
think maybe if
Yeah.
they could both recognize that, that would have been nice. Like,
Hmm.
I know you have a lot of pressure on your job. I'm sorry, but I don't think we really
Yeah.
got that. But that would have been interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Another one of my favorite scenes in this movie was Mac and Lindsay on the horse-drawn wagon tour. I thought that was a very nice moment, and the scenery was beautiful in that scene.
I agree.
Towards the end of the scene, I thought it was very clever how Lindsay kind of gave a metaphor of the relationship with her brother when talking about the Christmas tree. And I loved what Mac said as well. I don't have it written down, but I thought it was very nice.
It sounds nice.
Yes. We get a scene with Josephine, Brad, Lindsay, and Sarah, and they're talking about what's going to happen to Glen Crave. And Josephine says if they're interested, she will pass it down to them and they'll live there, run the estate, and keep Glen Crave in the family, as well as hold the title of Duke and Duchess. If they don't want it, then they'll put Glen Crave up for sale. And then she shows them the shed with all of Danny's work. And he was an expert craftsman and spent the entire year working towards Christmas. He'd play Santa for the solstice celebration and give it away to all the kids. I thought that was a nice moment when they were all in the shed talking about Danny and his work.
Yeah, it helps them kind of know the uncle
Yeah.
that they didn't know existed.
Yes, didn't get to meet. This is another favorite scene when Josephine, Brad, Lindsay, and Sarah are in town and they see the Christmas Highland dancers, and Brad, Sarah, Mac, and Lindsay join in.
Yeah, that was funny. I liked that. We got two
Yes,
scenes of kind of Highland dancing.
yes. I wish I could dance like that, but I cannot.
No, I think you have to be like, I feel like you have to be a true Scottish person to pull that off.
Yes. It would be fun to learn, though,
Oh
that kind of
yeah,
dance.
absolutely.
Yeah,
There's a model, her name's Coco Rocha. She's like she
yeah.
should look her up. She like did a, I don't know, maybe she's Scottish or Irish. I can't remember. She like
Yeah.
danced down the runway
Oh,
years ago. It's fun to watch.
yeah. After the dancing, they are at the Christmas market, and Josephine sees her best friend from growing up, Elspeth, which I thought that was a nice moment. And then they talk about Danny and the Glen Crave Christmas Ball. It's always nice to see friends that you've known for a long time.
That was sweet. I liked that a lot.
Yes. A great brother sister moment was Brad and Lindsay at Salinger's pub, and they're talking about the bartender is telling them about the Christmas themed drink, which is called the Bad Santa, which is a whipped cool bourbon and eggnog. And we see them actually taste it, and it is very strong. I don't think I could have anything like that.
Definitely a unique concoction.
Yes, I totally agree. And then just Brad and Lindsay, they go sit down at the table and they have a talk about what he and Sarah have been going through. And of course, we hear it's been a rough patch for them. When they married, they thought they'd be better off just the two of them and didn't want any kids because of being children of divorce. Now, with the window closing, Sarah wants a baby. They've been trying IVF, but haven't had any luck. This was kind of sad, but I liked the depth we got in this conversation.
Yeah, definitely revealed a lot of information
Hmm.
that probably she didn't know about what he was going
Yeah,
through since they're not super close anymore.
yes. And I did love how Lindsay was supportive of Brad and told him that he'd be a great dad.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Yes.
Connecting a little bit, making some progress.
Yes. A funny line I have written down from this movie was when Brad and Lindsay go back to Elspeth's store and they see her talking with their mom. And Brad says, it's like mom popped out of a Scottish time machine.
I know it's like you get back to where you're from and your accent gets thicker or something.
Yes, yes. I think that the Scottish accent is very nice. I think it's one of my favorites.
Oh, I agree. It's great. It's fun.
Yes. Yeah,
It's unique.
I agree. Another nice moment was Lindsay helping tend to Mac's injured hand and then taking him to the clinic where she meets his mom, Dr. Amelia Bell, and they talk about their jobs managing their clinics.
Yeah, I knew that was foreshadowing that she would end up, working there,
Yes,
and moving there.
yes.
It was like super obvious, like that's where
Yeah,
they were headed.
I thought so too. What did you think about the scene with Brad, Sarah, Lindsay, and Mac judging the Christmas whiskey competition and then the conversation after about the neighborhood hot cocoa contest that Brad and Lindsay entered?
Oh yeah, like the dirty reindeer. It
Yeah,
was
the
fun,
dirty reindeer.
shows their bonding and
Yes.
connecting in a way they probably wouldn't have if they hadn't gone there. And the whiskey judging was interesting. I know nothing about
Yeah.
it, but it's very
Yeah.
Scottish. I do know that whiskey is very Scottish, so
Yes. I don't know a lot about whiskey, but I thought it was a nice scene. And the hot cocoa they made included pretzels, marshmallows, cookie crumbles, and peanut butter. I don't know how that would taste. I'm curious, actually.
I think it would actually taste great.
Yeah, I'm sure it would taste good because I love all of those things.
Oh yeah, someone should make a recipe for that, put it online.
Yes. Yeah, that would be fun for Hallmark to do that. Have a little recipe book of different things and all the Christmas movies.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Another nice moment was Brad, Lindsay, and Mac seeing the Shetland ponies, and those have always been associated with the holidays in Scotland. And then Brad and Lindsay reminisce about seeing Santa at the zoo when they were kids, and they put a red nose on one of the reindeers. I think is what Lindsay
Yeah,
said.
I liked the Shetland ponies. That was fun.
Yeah,
Again,
beautiful.
very
Yeah,
appropriate for like the location.
yes. And when they went to the zoo, it was the last Christmas before their parents got divorced. And Brad was the only person who made Lindsay feel safe. And I thought that was a sweet little moment between them as brother
Oh,
and sister.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I agree. It was
Yeah.
a really good script.
After that, Brad and Lindsay have lunch. And this is one of my favorite quotes in the movie when he says, sometimes the simplest things are the best. And then they talk about their plan for Glen Crave. Both Brad and Lindsay are torn about what to do. And Lindsay mentions that he and Sarah need to remember why they fell in love and find that again.
Oh, that's sweet, isn't it?
Yes. And then they literally take one of the cookies off the plate and they crumble it and then they put it in the hot chocolate.
I think that's a great idea.
Yes, to try out their hot chocolate recipe from the contest when they were younger.
I loved it. I think I completely
Yes,
agree.
yes. And of course, Mac shows up and he tries it too.
Yes, of course.
Yes. I think this was one of my top favorite scenes in the movie. The party at Salinger's when Lindsay helps Max serve, and then they have a talk about how he became the property manager at Glen Crave. And then she meets his sister Isla and his brother-in-law Thomas, who we all know and love as Will Kemp. I loved that cameo in this movie.
Yeah, like I don't know if you watched the Santa Summit. There was like a super
Yes,
short cameo with
I
Niall
did.
Matter, but this one like went
Later.
on, and I was like, there you go. Mater Matter, sorry.
Later, yeah, it's
Niall,
okay.
Niall with an M as his last name.
Yes,
Yeah, no, Will's cameo went on for a
yeah,
while. So,
yes,
that was fun.
yes. I love when Lindsay says, I'm sorry, do I know you? Have we met before?
I know that was so funny. People loved that.
Yes. And then when they start to dance together for the rematch of the Christmas crown, Thomas, says, what are you doing? Because, she's putting her hands up like she's going to do the waltz or like they're going to do the waltz. And she says, I only know how to waltz and tango. And he's like, not here. Here we do the Highland fling.
I know that was like what is a reference to their dancing detective movie and then the
Yes,
Christmas
yes,
waltz. So that
yes.
was
I
nice.
loved that. Yeah. And of course, they won the rematch of the Christmas crown, which I thought was fun.
Absolutely.
We get a talk with Mac and Lindsay after the party, and they share their first kiss. And I thought that was sweet. And then she said that she wants to figure things out before taking things any further, which is understandable.
Smart. I mean, she doesn't know what I mean, gosh, these movies, I'm like they only know the person for like a few days
A
and
few
it's
days,
just,
yeah. It's tough.
but that's part of the movies. That's part of the movies, the super fast romances.
Yes, that's very true. A nice moment between Brad and Sarah was after the bonfire, and Brad says, no matter what, there's one thing I know, I love you. And they decide to keep trying for having a child, I think is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a sweet moment. One of my favorite scenes between Mac and Lindsay was when they are sitting by the fire outside and he is mentioning how his mom needs a partner at the clinic and that the people of Glen Crave have fallen for her. And then he takes her hand.
Oh, yeah, it was sweet. And I mean, she would have a helpful hand to help them, run the state. I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, have you seen The Holiday
Um,
with
I
Cameron Diaz and
might have,
Kate Winslet?
I've heard of it, but I can't remember if I've ever seen it. I don't think I have, but I've heard it's a great movie. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a slight bit more,
Yeah.
adult than Hallmark has,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's a scene at the end. It was almost like identical to the scene at the end of this.
Oh,
And I
that's
was just like
awesome.
watching it because I was like, she's really gonna leave Scotland. And then she didn't. And she turned around in the car and it was literally just
Hmm.
like Cameron Diaz in The Holiday. So if anyone's seen that,
Oh,
I'm sure they caught the
that's
connection.
awesome. That's awesome. I'll have to go watch it sometime. around Christmas time,
You should.
maybe in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Another great moment was Graham, Josephine, and Sarah making the Yule bread. And we get a little bit of history on the Yule bread, and it symbolizes the sun in the darkest days of winter. When Christmas was banned in Scotland, bakers had to pass along the names of all those who asked for a Yule loaf to the police. And then they talk about hiding the ring, I think it was, in the dough. And whichever family member finds it will have good luck all year long.
Yeah, it reminded me of what they do on Mardi Gras with like the little
Yeah,
baby and the
yes, the
cake.
baby. We get the Morgan family breakfast, and this is when Brad and Sarah tell their this is when Brad and Sarah tell Josephine that they've decided they want to take the titles of Duke and Duchess and move to Glencrave. And of course, this does not make Lindsay happy because they didn't really talk to her first about making the final decision. And I can see where she was coming from with that, but then I can also see their side as well. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, of course, he's the older brother, and so if
Yeah.
you go by lineage, of course, it would go to him anyway, even if she
Yes.
was, no matter what she said, if she agreed with it or
Yeah.
not. I mean,
Hmm.
unfortunately, I mean, as far as for females, it's kind of
Yeah.
unfortunate. It always goes to the firstborn
Yes.
male.
Yes.
But, they wanted a change, they needed a change, and I think it
Hmm.
was a good choice for them. And of course, she
Yes.
comes around eventually.
Yes. I agree. A nice mother-daughter moment I loved was the talk by Danny's grave. I thought that was very sweet.
It really was. Again, it made the movie feel a lot more
Yes.
dramatic,
Yeah.
I thought, for Hallmark anyway, for not being like
Yes.
the movies and mysteries, Miracles of Christmas or something.
Yeah. I loved the Christmas ball. That was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And we get a brother sister dance with Brad and Lindsay. They make things right in their relationship. And then we get a dance with Mac and Lindsay. And it made me laugh when Mac says, in response to Lindsay saying, how handsome he looked, he says, Scots are hot.
Oh my gosh, I know. I had to rewind that. Like, did he just say that?
Yeah. We also get Josephine's speech about Danny and officially announcing Brad and Sarah as the 12th Duke and Duchess. And I thought that was a nice moment. And then Lindsay gives Brad his Christmas present, which is the family crest. And, she puts it on him or on his jacket.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The official
Yes.
titles were given out, and
Yes.
I actually thought they might end the movie there, but they did
Yeah,
not.
I thought so too. Yeah, they did not. We get a sweet scene with Mac and Lindsay in the stables when she says her goodbyes and they have a little gift exchange. She gives him Christmas pajamas and he gives her a necklace with the Glencrave crest. And I thought those were very nice gifts, very fitting for the two of them.
Yeah, it's not super Christmassy, but definitely appropriate for the situation.
Yes, and I love how she gave him Christmas pajamas because earlier on in the movie, we see them walk by one of the stores, and in the window, she sees matching Christmas pajamas.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. That's
Yes.
so true.
And of course, we get to the last scene when Lindsay says her goodbyes, and she has a brief talk with Brad, and then she gets in the car to leave for the airport. She opens her gift from Brad and Sarah, which is a key and a note that says, Your key to the castle. The door is always open. Lindsay decides to stay, and then she shares another kiss with Mac, and that was very sweet.
It was the perfect ending, and everyone's together. And then, of course, you flash forward to a year
Yes,
later, and there's a new
yes,
baby, and everyone's having fun in the
yes,
castle. And happy
yes,
Christmas.
yes, Ainsley, and what a beautiful baby she is.
Yes.
And of course, I loved the matching Christmas pajamas they all had on.
I know it was perfect. It just was
Yes,
perfect.
yes,
Thank you for having me on to
of
recap this.
course,
It's been
yes.
really nice.
Yes, of course. It's always fun chatting with you. To quickly wrap it up, do we want to give our ratings for the plot and script, chemistry, Christmas feels, and overall? Would you like to go first? And that's out of 10.
Sure. I'll give it for everything 10 out of 10, and Christmas feels I feel like Christmas wasn't like the main focus, so maybe
Mm-hmm.
like 8.5 out of 10, but literally I loved
Okay.
everything. It was a great movie.
Yeah, I think so too. For plot and script, just for me, based on a couple of things, I gave it 7.5 out of 10. Chemistry, 8 out of 10. Christmas feels, 8 out of 10. And overall, 8 out of 10. I have really enjoyed this movie. I wouldn't say it was my absolute favorite, but I thought it was still great. And I loved seeing Lacey and Scott together. I thought that they had great brother sister chemistry. And as some of our listeners probably know, they were brother and sister on another show way back called Party of Five, I believe is the name. I never watched it, but I heard it was a great show.
Yes, I heard that as well.
Well, this is always so much fun. Betsy, thank you for joining me for this review of A Merry Scottish Christmas. I had a great time.
I had a great time as well. Thank you. I hope you have a
Of
great
course.
Christmas and enjoy the rest of
Thank
the
you.
movies.
You too. All right, Hallmarkies. I think that wraps up our review of A Merry Scottish Christmas. If you enjoyed this episode, you can like this video and share your thoughts on the movie in the comments. If you want to stay up to date on all of my movie reviews, you can subscribe to this channel and make sure to turn on the bell so you are alerted when new episodes come. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and we will see you next time. We love y'all. Bye.